You're listening to White Noise with your host, Drip, 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 Drip.
We are back. White Noise, Year 2, Episode 17. I am your host, Davis, aka Drip. As always, I am joined by Cal, producer, founder of Black Wrestling. And this week, we got a very special guest. Like mentioned in Off-White, make sure you're paying the 1, paying the 10. Might even one half of Wrestle Rap.
Oh, man.
Host of Oddball Podcast. Check that out if you're into sports and all sorts of other wackiness in the world of sports, which is kind of like the lighter side of sports. I never really looked at that until now. Now that I think about it, but like, because you did the Bear Week that one time.
Oh, Fat Bear Week.
Yeah. But
yeah,
if you
where
know,
it's like there's a contest in Alaska where when the bears come out of hibernation, they have to feed them. So they take like a month and they pick like who's the fattest bear at the end of the month, and they win. And they make all these graphics where it's like UFC style, like this bear.
Yeah.
This bear.
I think I have seen this before. I didn't know what was. I didn't realize that's what it was.
This is Sergey.
Yeah,
he's a brown bear.
Fattest
10
bear,
years
and the
old.
bear's just like, "What are you talking about?" It's like
Yeah, the bears don't even know; they just know they're getting salmon.
it's like watching the what the fuck were we
They'll
watching?
know they're part of Big Ruse.
What was the shit? It was Man vs Bear, oddly enough, titled the where they were eating the what was it? They were
The hot
eating
dog, they were eating the glizzies.
against
the bear versus
the-
Kobayashi.
against Kobayashi, and they're talking about the bear like the bear, and the bear's like, "I'm seeing these fucking hot dogs, bro." Like,
They're talking about the bear like the bear knows what's going on. They're like,
you led me
they're
to
like,
these
look at
hot
that.
dogs.
They're like, look at that bear stare a hole through Kobayashi. It's like the bear doesn't. The bear's staring because there's a fucking light behind him. Like,
It's okay. People used to wrestle bears. I'm sorry. I don't want to get too
that was like the UFC. Khabib Nurmagomedov. He
when he wrestled a bear, yeah.
As a kid, and that's why they said his wrestling was so strong. As he got older, they show him
He was in Russia or something.
Dagestan, Dagestani, I believe is what he was.
Is that east? Is that so? I'm sure.
It's in the Baltics region, of Russia.
Where do you? Because where can you go to wrestle? Like there's bears in North Jersey. I'm not going up there to wrestle.
He's like going to the woods in North Jersey and wrestle.
But he's like in a fence in like an
exact. That's crazy.
A crew neck and in sweats, just like wrestling a baby bear, and it's like it's not trying to hurt him at all. He's just like, come on, double leg, like. And that's why they said he had unstoppable wrestling offense and defense as a UFC fighter. But again, you've seen Vin on Bulls in the China Shop, which is on the BRP Patreon with Semper Vivi, so he's a familiar face in the likes of the BRP Universe.
Extended universe, yeah, the multiverse, the BRP multiverse.
It really is a multiverse. It's a very least it's a number.
I want to see the movie poster where everyone's just crammed into the BRP. It's like everyone's heads like leaning out the side. Like,
what's the?
No, it'd have to be like the Infinity War poster when like they had everyone.
Yeah, I was debating if it was Infinity War or Endgame. I couldn't. I don't know which one sounded cooler for it. May have to be like BRP Infinity War.
You know what's funny about those movies? The only thing that was really holding Endgame back is that it was not Infinity War. Infinity War was like such a perfect like capstone to that whole thing.
Maybe my favorite Marvel film.
But see,
it's really good. That's a movie I had to watch in the theater twice to make sure that I really liked it as much as I did.
All right,
because it's one of those things where the movie ended, and we know that Spider-Man's coming back. We know Black Panther's coming back, but like the kids in the audience were they were shattered. There was like a kid crying, like, I just watched Spider-Man last week, and now he's not going to come back again.
He's fucking dead, Mom.
Black Panther was 2 months earlier.
Yeah, and in horrific, like he's like, Tony says, like, oh, Mr. Stark, I don't feel good, and he fucking turns into ash in front of me. Like, that's frightening.
Yeah. It did happen. I'm
an Endgame defender because Endgame does have. It's not better than Infinity War. I'm not that crazy. I do like Endgame a lot. It does have the burden of trying to follow Infinity War because Infinity War is the best episode of television ever invented. It's like what a penultimate episode is supposed to be. Like the storylines are all coming to fruition, and like here we are at this moment, and Endgame is the finale. Like here we go. Like this, how do you wrap up the show and keep going? Like it all got to that point where like you see Doctor Strange and Iron Man interact, you see the Guardians and Spider-Man interact, you get to see Captain America and Wakanda. Like it has all these things for it. And then finally Thanos shows up like this, and he, you know, boxes the Hulk. And it's a no contest. He just, and it's like, oh, this guy's for real. He's not just, which makes it like, why did he just do this in the first place? If it was that damn easy, that's the only drawback.
Well, they did do the smart thing, and they didn't set up your expectations in a way that you would think, because they killed him right away. Or the first version of Thanos, he's just out somewhere like cooking dinner. And they just show up at his crib and just cut his fucking head off or whatever. So I did appreciate that. Because then it's like, okay, now we can tell, like, whatever story we want.
Like, all that stuff is cool. That time heist in the middle, Endgame did not need to be that long.
I like the time heist.
Yeah, I didn't need to spend that much time walking around fucking Iron Man's dad and the shit with Thor 2. And I went the first time I went to see, I gotta pee. I will be right back. I will be right.
Yeah, we're doing the Thor stuff now. Okay, I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
Yeah, matter of fact, I may have. There was some sequence going on, like, I cannot sit here any longer. I have to go use the bathroom, and this seemed perfect. And I came back, and it was legit Thor talking to his mom. I'm like, what? Why?
Well, you bring up an interesting thing that I've been thinking about recently, which is, I forget what movie it is, but they announced recently it's some movie that I'd been interested in was going to be, the new Spider-Man animated movie. Was going to be like
Spider-Verse.
Yeah, it was going to be like 2 hours and 20 minutes or something like that.
Part 1 is going to be 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah, but like all these articles are like, why is it got to be so long? It's like, do you know what a fucking long movie is? Like,
right.
There used to be like 4-hour long movies.
Right. the attention span, like the people, shouts out to Netflix. Again, I'm glad we're on White Noise this conversation with Vin. Netflix ruined serialized television. Like there are people who believe that the only way to watch a TV show is I'm going to sit down for whatever 6-hour, 10-hour period and binge the shit out of this one season of this show, as opposed to building, stories week to week. And a lot of that is because of how the TV system is structured.
But that goes against what we're even saying, because if you can sit down and be used to binging something for 6 hours, why can't you, why is 2.5 hours like a no-go for some people?
Because the binge is a lot. It's going to sound crazy, but hear me out. Think of how, when you're in a movie theater, they play jingles that tell you to turn your fucking phone off, shut the fuck up, and watch the movie. I'm sorry, YouTube. I apologize.
No. Like, that's what I was about to say.
YouTube at home
and be on your phone.
They're on their couch. Oh, yeah. What shit? Did you play Wordle yet? It's all you can pause it when you want. And the thing is you can skip the intros. A lot of the time, there's whole episodes that have nothing to do with anything. It's just that they wanted to have 8 episodes. So episode 5 is going to be, a little garbage detour. You could sit there and mindlessly not even watch the show in the movie theater for 2.5, 4 hours, whatever. You don't know when you're able to go piss because something might happen. It's a attention grabber by design. So I think it's harder for people who are okay with binging 4 episodes in, a short time span, however the fuck they want, walking around doing jumping jacks and shit, have its subtitles on I'll watch stuff on 1.25. There's some shit drips like, yo, Cal, you got to watch this for the show. And I'm like, damn, let me watch this at 2x speed so I can get through this fucking.
Well, if you're watching Nicholas Winding Refn shows, the 2.5 speed actually would be beneficial for some people. All right, we get it. You're just dragging out this.
The music was kind of jamming though, and it was up a little faster, so I had to stop sometime just to see what it really sounded like. But it's really tough for people to that to like really focus that length of time sometimes. So anytime I tell people I'm watching the Gamrajima deathmatch, they're like, damn, what are you doing? It's like an hour, whatever, and they're just doing rest holds. Look, I'm sorry. That's how I was raised.
But that's the thing, like you said.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm going to be at home all day. All these episodes are available. I can watch the first 2 to 3 full attention and then like keep it going while it's background noise, or like, oh, well, I missed that. I can rewind it. Like while I'm on my phone and distracted for a second. Like at a movie, you have to be locked in and focused, which is why every time I go to the movie, it's something I do want to have that time allotted for. Like I'm giving these 2.5 hours so I can watch this movie without the interruptions of like my phone and everything like that. Because if I'm at home, it's still the tough task of a movie I do want to watch. I'm like, oh, let me try not to be on my phone as much so I can just watch this movie at peace. And that's what was so good about what HBO Max was doing with the in-day release and the at-home release at the same time. Like I watched Dune at home instead of in the theater, all because I'm like, I don't want to go.
That was one of the other trailers I played, was the Dune 2 trailer. Yeah.
Because like I want to see Dune. Okay, fuck you. Okay. Dune 2 looks amazing. All right.
They're not even talking about
sand.
Yeah, they're not even talking about the water or sand though. He's just like, yeah. What would your is he still alive? What would your father want? Oh, look at me! I can summon the fucking sand monster, and they come get the fuck out of here. Like, what are we talking about?
He is a messiah.
I don't know. I think Dune is one of those things that it's meant to be a novel. And I think it works best as a novel.
The messiah.
There's a lot. The way it's written, there's a lot going on. There's like different houses, and
y'all don't get tired of it. Like, it's like fake politics in cinema though. Like, you know, that's all. Star Wars is a fucking like government.
Here we go. Fox News Cal showed up.
It's not Fox News. I'm just saying, like at a certain point, like that shit don't get boring to y'all. Like space politics and all that shit. That's high art.
See, now Cal's the one complaining about woke politics.
Well, the politics are in the novels in the first place.
And
that's why they wrote the damn novel.
That shit is so boring. I did not read the book, and it seems so boring. Anytime I tried twice. I don't remember how Dune Part 1 ends.
It ends of like
there's a lot going on in Dune.
The ending of Dune Part 1 is it's just beginning. That's the end of Dune. Part 1.
I was just gonna say like the set like. Sorry, if you were thinking of getting into Dune Part 1 and thinking, okay, it's going to pick up in the middle of the story. It's like, nah. It's going to pick up right when the story is starting.
Is Zendaya going to speak more at least?
Yeah, that's why in this trailer, they're like, don't worry, she's in this movie. Relax.
Don't worry.
She's in it.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, don't worry. She is in this movie.
Just like they're like,
she's not doing anything.
Just like they're like Florence Pugh was in this movie. Austin Butler's in this movie. We got again this movie.
Austin
has
Butler,
everything.
that fucking mushmouth. I hate.
Elvis.
I hated that Elvis movie.
He was. Which one was he?
He was Elvis.
No, I'm sorry. No, in the Dune Part 2 movie. I don't know.
He's the guy, Fade Rotha.
He was Elvis. No,
Fade Rotha.
That's who Sting was.
That's a great
Sting, the
90s
musician,
rapper.
not Steve Borden.
Fade
Rotha was his name.
I think so, yeah.
Fade Rotha sounds like he's gonna.
Fade Rotha sounds like he ghost wrote for Shaq on that first album.
Fade Rotha sounds like my first round opponent at the rap battle. Coming to the stage from Durham, North Carolina.
Oh, Fade Rotha got a new feature on that Cool Keith album.
The lyrical stylings of Fade Rotha.
Yeah, the New Jersey's lyrical miracle, Fade Rotha.
The hieroglyphical scientifical.
Yeah.
Well, like
be performing at the Cherry Hill Diner.
Jason Momoa's name was Duncan Idaho, and it's like, huh? Like,
yeah, Duncan Idaho. Get it? Because he's I don't know why they call him.
Meanwhile, Josh Brolin's like Gertie Halleck. It's like that's a fucking sci-fi name. Like
Gertie Halleck.
Yeah. It's like those are sci-fi names, not Duncan Idaho. It's like
Duncan. It's so
Duncan Idaho, Gertie. These are bad. These are like Christopher Nolan bad names.
These are bad. He's like, wait, what did what was left on the floor from the Lucas brain meeting?
No, because his thing was Luke Starkiller. He's like, that's too dumb. What about Skywalker? He was
Starkiller. Jesus Christ. Anyway, Drip. I'm sorry.
Jar Jar Binks.
No, it's like because there are 2 movies in the works. Not now because the writer strike is happening, which is like
shit. Yeah,
no, that's why they should put Jar Jar Binks in the Dune movie. Then I'll go watch.
But no, like the writer strike is happening, and like they're saying Hollywood's lost $10 billion in one day. It seems like it's gonna continue, which to me is stupid. It's like not give in, but like, don't you see like you're in the wrong because you're the one losing money? Like, sure, these writers are dependent on you, but like Hollywood just started a rebound this year with the box office. We talked about this the last couple of months, where like at least every week there was a movie that had the top spot until Mario dominated for 3 weeks, but movies were starting to make money. It wasn't a monopoly anymore. It became more democratic with each movie that was a new movie of the week took the number 1 or number 2 spot and like earned more than 100 million just about.
Yeah.
Compared to last year when it was like, holy shit, we don't know if we'll ever recover. And then Tom Cruise and Hollywood Tom Cruise and Top Gun Maverick saved Hollywood. And then James Cameron at the end of the year said that we can save it together, pal. Like we can.
Yeah.
I
finally got that Avatar sequel no one asked for.
Yeah, he's like, your jets, my blue people, we can build a better future. Like
my blue people.
They did it, and it set a good precedent for this year. Like, look at the slate of upcoming movies. Kyle, you said like there were some that you aren't as hyped for.
I am not hyped for anything.
And what's crazy is that Avatar movie it made money, right? Like it was a hit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It did.
But the same thing with it had no resonance whatsoever. Like it made a lot of money, but like nobody talks about it.
No.
If there's a sci-fi convention, there's no one dressing up like the fucking Na'vi. No tie-in comics or novels that people are rushing out to buy. Like there's
nobody's asking for anything. There's nobody.
That was my big thing with the first Avatar. It's like it made the most money of any movie. It's like because everyone wanted to see the tech demo.
Right.
That was the 3D cameras. But then like again, he's like, I got 5 sequels coming. And it's like, where is this demand? Maybe slow down. Maybe focus on one sequel first.
We already saw the movie.
But his demand was like, I got 4 sequels, but this one has to make at least $2 billion for me to even continue. So he's like, let's just hold off on that. The movie has to make the money I spent on it back to continue forward.
And it wasn't even the best 3D movie. You know what the best 3D movie was? Jackass 3D. Because it was pure cinema. You know what pure cinema is, Drip? I'm going to cut you off. It's pure cinema. Is like back in the day when you would watch a train coming right at the screen. That's what pure cinema is, and that's what Jackass 3D was. Because they were like, we have 3D cameras, let's do cool 3D shit in a theater.
Well, see, 3D's never interested me. That's why like the whole Avatar thing just was like, I don't care about it. Because like I saw Spy Kids 3D as a kid.
Oh, that may be the best 3D.
And that was pretty cool. But then going forward, like watching it at home, it wasn't the same. So I'm like,
because when you don't have the 3D, it's like, why is that character reaching out like that?
No. I'm saying like when they give you like the 3D DVD and like you have the glasses at home to watch.
Oh, that's not the same.
Yeah, so I'm like, well, I don't want to care about this anymore. If like the whole point, like the biggest appeal of this movie is to be 3D, then why should I give a fuck about it? But like you said, like Avatar, I can't even think of a parallel, which is like you said, like it shows up, it does what it's supposed to do, like it makes all this money because people go out to see it. You see, obviously, they don't fudge these numbers of like this movie makes almost $3 billion. It's just but like no one talks about it. No one's like, it's a master. It's a quiet. It's Tim Duncan basically. It's just like it shows up. Do my job, then I go. Like,
get the hell out of here, yeah. Jesus, I don't know, man. I don't fucking know. I don't get it. But I don't understand why they did it the last time. It's tough for me to. I don't want to say it's tough to grasp why they would do this, but it's frustrating because Hollywood they only want more.
Yeah,
like it's not like
they only want more content. Like, so you need
people to put it together, even if they're shitty writers. Like you still got to fucking pay them.
Which is what I love about like all the people they're talking to. Like Tim Simons, he said like I haven't said a funny thing without a writer. And and like all the people that are picketing, like with their clever signs that have like great jokes, is like, writers this and writers that's like, and I was trying to think of like a parallel where they're like, AI can't create something like this, which is true. Like AI can't create something like Succession. Like no one can come up with like half the things they say on Succession, even though half the time it's just like fuckity fuck. But still, like AI would be like, that's too many fucks. We can't. That does not compute to make sense. Like it would stop itself. Because I'm watching something, which has been the criticism about it, that seems AI written, which is Amazon Citadel. Because that does seem like, what do they want? Well, they want Hitchcockian love spies.
You think they actually wrote it with AI though?
No, it seems like it is. Like, what do people like? I
not to cut in, but I apologize for people who were asking what the fuck was Vin doing for the past minute. There was a bug. I saw a bug fly onto my screen. I was like, oh shit! I was trying to get it, and then it turned I hit my webcam, and that turned off. And
everything fucks up.
But no, it seems like something where like I just listened to, funny enough, because Citadel is produced by the Russo brothers. I finished their interview with Zack Snyder, and Zack Snyder said that when he was writing Justice League with Chris Terrio came in with a bag full of Post-it notes, and he said that was Chris Terrio's writing process of like, and he like pulls them out of the bag and like slaps them on the wall. He's like, we can do this or maybe this, and it's like this, and it like, I'm like, no wonder this movie didn't make any fucking sense, because it's not coherent from A to Z. Yeah. This guy's it's
just about the scrawled ideas.
Well, the thing I always like to remind people about writers is they want money too. So when people complain about like Lost is a big example. They're like, oh, they didn't know where Lost was going. It's like, yeah, no, they didn't. They all at that point when you try to get something greenlit, all you care about is getting it greenlit. Right. And having the studio tell you that, okay, we're going to pay you for 26 episodes.
I have to go back and listen, because that was the first show where I would listen to a podcast with it. I don't think it was at the beginning. There was a point where they knew. It may have been towards the end or mid. I want to say it was either middle of season 1 or like by the beginning of season 2. But I think they happened upon the ending early, but because it's like you said, network television and 20 plus episodes, and
they had to make up more
breaks. There's like they had a beginning, an end, and like shit that they knew they wanted to do. The middle, it could go anywhere, and there were things that they were doing based off of reaction to. It was one of the first times I saw like not like them writing it in, but like, oh, people are reacting to this. Let's kind of dive into this story more over here. I don't want to say it was pro wrestling, but it definitely felt like they were winking and nodding at the people who were really paying attention.
Well, Lost sucks, so we don't have to talk about it. Like, Lost it's a terrible show because. Look, I get it. Most shows you don't know where they're going, and I'm fine with that. I don't have a problem with that part. What I do have a problem with is every week I had to listen to these fucking Lost heads tell me about, like, man, this Lost show.
Lost.
No, every week. I don't know how they do it. They got me on the edge of my seat every week. They really know how to do cliffhangers. Nobody knows how to do a cliffhanger like Lost does. Like, if I was making shit up, I would have the best fucking cliffhangers. I would leave you hanging off a cliff every week.
If I can make shit up for a living,
Dane Cook had a good joke about Lost once where he's like, anyone else watch the show Lost? And everyone's like, yeah, it has a great fucking show. But here's me after every commercial break on Lost. What the fuck is going on this show? He's like, and he's like, and I still watch it. I don't know why, but like, this is the most confusing show. But like, Lost was J.J. Abrams making basically a movie as a pilot, and the whole, like, the most famous anecdote about the Lost pilot was like Michael Keaton was supposed to be in it, and then die, and it was supposed to be, again, a huge swerve, because that's all J.J. Abrams can do as like this one trick pony at times.
Well, J.J.'s whole thing is that good old what's his name, J.J. Abrams.
I
don't know why I forgot his last name all of a sudden, but Jar Jar Abrams. He he can launch your series.
Right.
But don't let him end your series. Like, he's good at getting the plane off the ground.
Oh, you're right.
That's it. That. Star Wars, The Force Awakens was a great first reintroduction to that series. Then Last Jedi, people could kind of take or leave that. I liked it. But then the studio got cold feet and listened to a bunch of man babies on the internet who didn't like it. And then they had to reverse course and be like, you know what? JJ, get back in here. We're gonna, can we give the baton to you? Again, another example of we didn't have a blueprint for our $1 billion franchise. We just fucking gave the baton off to someone else for the middle section, and then we're gonna give it to Colin Trevorrow. But then they saw Jurassic World and were like, no.
No, they saw Book of Henry because Jurassic World is why they gave him the job. They're like, this guy made a $1.5 billion movie. Then they saw like the small and drama he made, and they're like, this is dog shit. What were you think? Like, you just fucked up the bag. But no, like you said perfectly. Like, again, I don't like The Last Jedi just in terms of, like, its up and downness in terms of, like, where like we were left off. But then it gets even worse with The Rise of Skywalker because they're course correcting something that they had no intention of course correcting. But like you said, it's because they had Rian Johnson come over.
Yeah, like, hey, you remember the Emperor? Well, now there's 50 of them.
But and funny enough, like, again, that's written by Chris Terrio. So he came in with his fucking bag full of Post-its and was like, I got so many fucking ideas. Let me show you. He's like, again, his main idea was like, what if there was a Sith GPS? Because that's how the fucking movie opened. Let's not forget. When that started, I saw that with my dad and my stepbrothers, and I looked at my dad. I'm like, 2 minutes in, I looked at him like, this isn't going to be good.
The most egregious thing to me, story-wise, in that movie is, one, the fact that you don't give Finn anything to do. Like, you set Finn up in the first movie as, like, oh, could he be a Jedi too? Like, could he have a big role? Oh, does he have a love thing going on with Rey? No love thing with Rey. Third movie comes around, they don't even broach the love aspect again. And instead of even doing anything with that, they give the big kiss scene to her and Kylo.
Yeah.
Which is completely unearned because it's like he's a fucking murderer. Like, really his redemption, like, when there's something in movies where there's a certain movie logic where if you're a bad guy and you cross a certain line, your redemption has to come with the price of you sacrificing yourself.
Thanks.
And that doesn't happen with Kylo. I mean, I guess it kind of does, but like, he gets the girl. Yeah, like,
he does. But no, it's not. To say it's unearned isn't accurate because Rian Johnson did tease something between them when they could like only see each other in like those visions. And then when he helps, like when they defeat Snoke and the Red Imperial Guards together, there is kind of a hint of like, he's like, you and I, we can rule together. Like, we can be something. He's like, I don't want to like rule over you. I want to rule with you. Like, we can, it's kind of a weird toxic thing of like, he's like, your power, my power. Like, we can be better than all of this. He's like, their way isn't the way. Like, our way can be it. He's like, because you've been wrong. I've been wrong. He's like, we've been led astray by the past, which is why he says like the past it's dead. Bury it. Like, they can start new. It's almost a weird, like, toxic love relationship, which the two of them could have gone, but like you said, like, because of the reaction to it and everything else involved, they kind of like scratch that and restart over. And there's, like you said, there's like, well, is she with Finn or not? That's the messiness. And like, that's kind of what I want to talk to you about today with storytelling. Because Vin, in the past, you have to like tell me a story in regards to AEW, because AEW's weakest point, besides television production, but that's, minuscule.
Yeah. Well, now they hired Will Washington, so Will Washington's going to set him straight, and
is
right under Tony Khan.
Is that what it is? It's a role in creative to help guide shit.
Yeah, basically he's there. My understanding is to help two things. Well, one really big thing to help keep long-term continuity, so that stories don't fall by the wayside. So that, for example, I would imagine a case like Wardlow a couple months ago, when he was hot and then they decided to just immediately cool him down. It's like, well, let's make sure that doesn't happen.
Right.
Well, we've talked about this the last 2 years. I always say, because we talked about with Trade E when it happens, like, they do term storytelling and continuity. Like you said, they will trace something back to an incident 2 months ago. But because they only ever had 2 shows and no split roster, like they got lost again. The whole lost in the shuffle mindset of anyone on AEW is that because they crammed so much in to one show. It just looks
weird though. Like
that
even
stuff gets laid on the wayside until it's time to like microwave it. But that's because 10 people have to have their guaranteed spots on Dynamite every week.
Right. But damn. Like there was no like perfect example. You mentioned Wardlow. When Wardlow beat Hobbs to take the title back, right?
Yeah.
In the opening package, the last time it was like maybe 2 to 3 weeks before the match was the last time they had any interaction. And it wasn't even a match. It was whatever footage taped from some incident that they had at the show. Like there was no way to do something online, something on Rampage, something else because within that time frame, I'm pretty sure Hobbs and QT Marshall faced the Lucha Bros at the Battle of the Belts. He had the title when they were doing all this other random stuff. If that's what Will's going to do, or I mean, it's the one thing I've always wanted. I'm fine with you guys taking time, but you have to figure out a way to keep some of these plates spinning, even if they're not
you have to remember
TV.
now they're going to have that 2-hour show on Saturdays. So some of those, so they're gonna have a split roster. They're gonna have their own brand split, that might help Dynamite or by leaning things out. But also, I'm very curious, like why. I mean, it had to have been a decision by Warner or Turner or whoever, where it's like, I guess they're happy. I guess they're happy, and they want. Yeah, that they want. I would imagine Rampage goes bye-bye after this. Although who knows? Because
what's the point of Rampage?
What's the point? It's just going to be like whatever you didn't see on Dynamite, and then just previewing stuff for tomorrow night.
But it's also like you already have you have a Saturday show that from what the reports say they're really going to be pumping. It's the CM Punk show, and they're going to be pumping a lot of attention into it.
I'm just most interested because it's wrestling on a Saturday night. But a very dicey prospect.
That was my childhood, but no, 100%. Like it's kind of it's going to be with so much going on. Again, I saw the whole Puerto Rico go up for Bad Bunny last night on a Saturday. Like it is what it is. But
last night was Backlash. Canelo had a fight. UFC had a card and NBA playoffs.
Big events,
Lakers
not
Warriors.
weekly.
So it's like that was Saturday. That's a Saturday. In May.
It's already tough on Saturday nights, and they're going to be pumping a lot of energy into the Saturday show. Friday nights are not easy either. It wouldn't make sense for me to see them continue to have both of those shows going on at the same time, potentially with one always at a loss, because Rampage automatically feels like lesser. I'm not calling that the NXT show, but if there's no dark, it feels like the new AEW dark.
There's
that, and then a lot of the guys they hired, are just working on Ring of Honor too.
Yeah.
So it's like there's gonna come a week where there may be Dynamite on Wednesday, Rampage on Friday, a Ring of Honor episode that week on Honor Club, and then Collision on Saturday night, and then like a pay-per-view that weekend.
Yep.
And then, like, if you do a pay-per-view that weekend, like, is there going to be no Collision that weekend? Like, is that going to be, like, their
Well, they're back on the Sunday model because...
They're back on the Sunday model because of that.
Yeah. Okay. They basically, once WWE took Saturday from them, they kind of just were like, well, I guess we're Sundays now.
They were just like, we're Sundays.
We're going to keep it old school.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess.
Which was dumb for them because what was their biggest strength was that they were doing Saturday pay-per-views, and WWE realized how successful that was. And again, just like, took that shit and like, no, we're doing this now, like because now they realize like, oh, it's so much easier to compete against nothing on Saturday, except again weekends in May and maybe the fall are the only time you'll have competition because that's when the most is going on. Like Collision will have success in June, July, and August when it's dead, but then when college football comes back in September, then the NBA starts again. And MLB playoffs, all that, and whatever big UFC or boxing fight happens, like that's when Collision might suffer, but for them to, it's not dumb as we talked about a few weeks ago, Kyle, when we had the draft. Like they need 2 shows So like Vin just said, storylines could be leaned out. Like you don't have to cram so much into one show. You can have 20 people designated for this show and this show alone, and then the other 15 people can have that show, because that's what's their biggest problem is that why haven't we seen so and so on TV in recent weeks? Why haven't we seen this person? This match seems so fast forward like to where we are now. Like, how did we even get to this point?
I think they would be very smart to take themselves out of the ratings debate, and when they settle this whole Max business of like what's going to go on Max, because you hear like, oh, they want more live sports programming. Focus on that more. Like focus, like when you advertise, be like, oh, Catch Dynamite Wednesdays are on Max.
Only on
like,
Max.
Do that. Like Paramount, CBS and Paramount Plus already do that, because they have a lot of their shows that are exclusive to Paramount Plus. So they just go, oh, catch on CBS or on Paramount, or like subscribe to Paramount Plus.
And then they'll like show a pilot of a show that's on Paramount Plus on Paramount proper to get like they've done that with the Taylor Sheridan shows.
And they even share it between their streaming services now, because Pluto TV, when like a new season of something comes up, they'll play some of the old season on a channel on Pluto TV.
And that helps them because they've got that ad revenue from Pluto TV, which
it's I mean, not trying to be it's so that's how TV's been doing it. Like when Chucky first premiered on, it was USA and Sci-Fi. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, the first 2 or 3 episodes were uploaded in full on the Sci-Fi YouTube page when the show first came out. But again, it's like there's a model for a lot of these things. I think it would just be interesting if they were able to apply that to pro wrestling, and because again, if you want to talk about prolonging or telling stories in other places, you could do a lot with a couple of people and some time and some producers in regards to building vignettes or any of that type of stuff for a streamer or just for something else. But maybe, and again, if that's what is going to be happening with Will's hiring, and that's a step in the right direction. We just got to see it.
Because the biggest part is that stories seem weak because they don't care about story often. Tony Khan is a matchmaker. He's not a storyteller. I think that's what your criticism has been, Vin. And not in a negative way, but like anytime I've seen you talk about them, you're like, yeah, like it's cool that we're getting this match, but like what's the story behind it? But at the end of the day, this is also like it's
what that audience wants.
But they are in the competition side of wrestling, not the entertainment side of it. They are more in New Japan, like King of Sports, compared to, oh, so-and-so's brother is betraying him for whatever reason. I'm not saying that to piss on the blood. I'm just saying like that's, more often like storytelling in wrestling is so simple. That's why the bloodline works, because it's legitimate. Like these guys are all related. That's why the story works so like Dominic and Ray work so well, because like that's his dad for real. But like what are the other stories that are working in WWE? There aren't any. Like,
well, let me ask you this, because we had the pay-per-view last night at this time of recording, and one of my biggest pet peeves happens all the time now. Saw it again this morning, is all these people who hate WWE tweeting about, I watched Backlash and it was the drizzling shits. And that, dude, why are you watching?
Why are you watching?
I tuned into the first couple episodes of Game of Thrones. I didn't like it. You know, I never watched Game of Thrones again.
Don't watch it.
Don't watch it. Don't ask me about it. I'm going to tell you, I just don't watch it.
I hate that.
But like people are getting on other people because like, oh, well, you got to shit on WWE, and the guy on Twitter's like, I don't watch it. Why are you yelling at me? Like,
but I've always said, if you watch something and it's something that you don't like, you should be able to air your criticism because you spent your time to watch it. Now, if you're doing that just to hate watch, then that's the problem. Then you're forcing yourself to be angry for no reason. That's why I've always like, if there's a show I like and then it starts going off the deep end, I'll just stop watching because I don't want to like, oh, the show's so shitty now, or this and that, or blah blah. Like same thing, like like if I don't want to watch this segment of wrestling, I'll just fast forward.
Why would you watch something you don't like?
I'll watch it.
You wouldn't do it with any other media.
I watch it. I watch the whole pro wrestling show.
Well, yeah, like the Cody Rhodes stuff, as it happens live, I'm like, I'm not gonna pay attention. And then like right before BRP, I'm like, all right, let me watch the Cody Rhodes so I can see this bullshit and be justified when we have to talk about it for
Cody Rhodes,
my dislike. Man. But like AW's weakness in that is that they do have one story they only care about telling, and that's anything involving the elite. Anything involving those 4 guys is the only story they're interested in telling, because everyone else, it's swerve, and not the wrestler. Like, oh my God, Daniel Garcia is going to join the Blackpool Combat Club. Psych, he didn't. Or Luchasaurus is back with Jungle Boy. Psych, he was with Christian Cage all along. That's their storytelling. So again, just like the whole 4 pillars we talked about weeks ago, that whole episode was kind of dedicated to, like, it made sense to have this match on paper, like as a Tony Khan matchmaker match. Like, I'm going to have the 4 stars of my company in the main event of a show. Like, oh, that's awesome. How did we get there? MJF
they all just showed up in the ring.
Yeah. Well, no, that's kind of good. If they had dropped hints the week before, that would have made sense. But the whole Sammy Guevara is agreed to take a dive in the matches is stupid, because like, and that's when you get into like, what's a great heel? It's not what this guy's doing.
He sucks.
And
as a character, like that stuff is so.
He's got the go away. You got the go away heat from you.
It's like if the whole, like, I was trying to figure out what I didn't like about the 4 pillar story, and this is aside from the way they deliver their promos, because I was not. There's some work that needs to be done. Sammy's probably closer than Jungle Boy and Darby, but he's not like saying anything that's really like impactful. But the point when Sammy, they're all of their thing has been, this is the reason why I'm supposed to be the face of AEW, essentially.
Yeah.
And I don't understand any motivation of Sammy Guevara at one point being like, oh, let me be cool with MJF. Why? What sense is that? Like, if at the end of the day, he knows that he has to face this man. Why are you buddy and doing this?
We've seen this before with like 2 years ago with MJF and Jericho, and then before then, a year before with MJF and Cody. So it's like you've done this twice before.
That's a good point.
And now it's with someone that I really care less about. So why am I going to care? And like Jungle Boy, I think is still too. I'm not going to say he's too young to be in that position. That's a little unfair.
It's early. It's going to take time for him to build.
It's still a little early days for Jungle Boy. He's an AEW original, and they should build him up through the ranks.
It'll be worth it when he gets to the top, though.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And then Darby, I just don't care for. Like, okay, cool, you could do a coffin drop off a mountain, but like, I don't.
Darby. That's what it is. Remember when Ronda Rousey went to WWE before Paul Heyman was working on her with promos, and she was out there like, I will eloquently state why I feel you women are beneath. Like it was such like stilted, random.
He doesn't
wording.
Have
there was nothing there. And I feel like no matter what Darby's saying, I don't really feel like, I don't know if that's the emotion he's going for when he's speaking, but it reminds me of Ronda cutting those really random, really like, what am I supposed to care about promos?
Yeah, you think you are the baddest woman on the planet, but I am the baddest woman on the planet.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
They make MJF look great at promos.
No, because his thing is to be.
But I don't. I feel like MJF, his wheels have been spinning for a while for me. For me personally, I just don't. I don't care for his shtick. Like it's the same shtick.
And that's what it is. It's just he thinks like this is how actors play wrestlers. Like as much as someone who's supposed to like be a diehard wrestling fan, he plays an actor. That's what like, oh, I should like be the ultimate bad guy and pay off wrestlers to beat up other wrestlers, and I should sing and dance, and the whole I don't wrestle because I'm not a wrestler. Again, that just shows like they hitched the wagon to the wrong horse, and like for the company that is the wrestling company, they picked the wrong guy to be at the top.
Why? Why they pick him? I mean, why do you think they picked him?
Oh, because Vin just said,
because he had gotten hot, and they were like, "Oh, this guy's the next one up."
No, because he was saying, "I'm gonna leave." This forced bidding war of like, I'm gonna leave, go over there and be a bigger star, but it's like because you're wasting me here, which is like, well, you haven't proven anything to be the top guy because you've just been around former top guys, and those top guys were top guys in other companies, and now I've come over here to like give you some shine. Chris Jericho, John Moxley, CM Punk,
they all gave him
Cody,
the
like they all gave him, but it's like, but you're still not wrestling to show like Hangman Page is a wrestler, Kenny Omega's a wrestler, Bryan Danielson's a wrestler, Darby Allin, like like I said it before when we did that, so like don't believe his lies, and his lie is I'm the best wrestler in the world, but it's like, no, you aren't, because if you were, you would wrestle more consistently and not look like you get gassed after 10 minutes. Like,
well, to be fair, that is a very heel troll. I'm the best wrestler, and then like to not even wrestle. Like I do like it.
Well, I know that, but the thing what makes Jay White a good heel is Jay White will be like cowardly, dastardly heel, but still is like top notch wrestler. Like joint minute, like he can hard strikes. I know what you're about to do before you do it. He knows how to work. That's like a real heel in wrestling. The guy who runs away so he can kind of trick you into like a sense of like, oh, I'm not threatening. You think I'm a coward, but then watch it when you fall for it.
But, Cal, bring up that picture of MJF again, the multi shot of him standing. Yeah, here's the problem with MJF. All of these, like, even the way these are kind of framed, it's all the same exact thing. Mm-hmm. There's no feud where it gets a little more dynamic than what you've seen before. It doesn't even have to be crazy. Maybe like, you do a feud where MJF lets his guard down, genuinely, becomes friends of someone, and like they turn on him, and he goes, you see, this is why I don't trust people. Like, do something.
No, Vin, they did that and they stopped it with the Firm. They had it in the palm of their hands of like, this guy can maybe be like a babyface. He can show a different side of himself. Like he started this faction, and this faction was like, the fuck are you doing? Like, this isn't what you paid us for. Because he's having like this change of heart, and then the William Regal thing happened, and that like it did it crumbled right in front of our eyes.
Because again, he was gonna leave, and then we decided we got to keep him.
That's fucking silly.
It's
really silly. Because now what? Because he's going to be champion for what, 8 years now? Like, when did he lose the title?
No. Like, once Kenny Omega is done with all this Blackpool Combat Club and potential CM Punk stuff, it's back to him facing someone for the world title.
So here's a good question: is there going to be 2 belts now?
No, I think what Cal and I proposed would be on the line that Collision would get the international or the TNT title as their top prize. I think they'd be smart. They'd be smart to go that route of like divvy up the belts we have, and that way the shows have distinct personalities. Like there's always that. Well, SmackDown's more the wrestling show, and Raw's the more entertainment show. Like, well,
see, I would agree with that, except that that Saturday show they want to have CM Punk and Jay White. Like they want some other heavy hitters on that show.
Yeah.
You think CM Punk is going to just want the international title?
That's why it's smart that they gave it the international name instead of the stupid All-Atlantic name when
you
it started.
You think that was them sort of rebranding it in anticipation?
It maybe made more sense. Like
It's a more beautiful looking belt. That belt is gorgeous.
And that's thinking like now Orange Cassidy's building a prestige with it by being a fighting champion to the point where like, again, the TNT title, much like the TBS title, doesn't matter pretty much. Because while the TBS title has stayed with one woman and has become dormant, the TNT title flip-flops back and forth so often that like it's meaningless almost. And the trios titles and the tag titles, they'll just be what they are. Like if you have a good team, you put the title on them. Like the House of Black's a great team. They again, how are you gonna have a tag team match and then a trios match in terms of like the show? Like the show's so overstuffed with the talent they have that they need time to like divvy it up. That's why like Rampage should have really had its own roster once it started. Mm-hmm. But they just didn't really want to segregate like that, even though they kind of basically were. There was almost regulars on Rampage for the first 3 months. There was Ricky Starks on Rampage. There was, again, CM Punk was like the face of Rampage until it was time for him to come over to Dynamite. Like Rampage had its own like skeleton crew of workers until it just started not to matter anymore. And I don't care about the whole like, well, they keep flopping the time slot. It's what happens when you have sports on TNT. Like it's gonna like they knew what they were doing. Like they took Dynamite
like
off
what
the
they were
TNT.
Oh my god, what's this basketball season coming up?
Well, yeah, exactly. And they were smart to take Dynamite off of TNT and put it on TBS, and that didn't hurt it at all. Again, it's the sister network. It's like you just put it on there and it's doing the same exact thing. And you said like the ratings don't matter. It's like because the people who watch Dynamite and watch AW as diehards watch it every single week. Viewership goes down for the people who are casuals or the WWE fans who tune in to see what's going on this week so they can shit on it or see if it's improving. That's where the viewership like goes down. Because if they see something good at the start, maybe like the rest of the show doesn't interest me, I'll tune in tomorrow when I can fast forward through commercials or the next day. That's why I think viewership is so low, besides the CM Punk thing of like maybe he was that anchor that they needed because the numbers certainly show it, and maybe this MJF run is as bad as the numbers show.
Yeah,
but there are so many other factors in, because I don't like the every 15 minutes thing. I don't always trust, because like someone like say this match hasn't happened yet, I'll tune back in, or I'll watch tomorrow because that's the match I want to see. I can watch again. Live sports is on right now. So much other TV is on right now. When you have everything at your fingertips, like you said, like why am I going to let these 2 hours for the show I don't really care about that much when I can just watch my own version tomorrow? It's like me and Monday Night Raw. Like I'm not going to watch all 3 hours of this show. I'll watch the first hour and a half, maybe even at a delay, so I can fast forward through the commercials. Like this was the opening segment. Skip. Like
I don't watch I don't watch the full show every week, but I try to get through as much Raw as I can, just to give the most, because I that's it may just be pro wrestling. That's one of the few things where if I'm going to watch the show, I'm watching the whole show.
Yeah, but do you think?
I need to know. I need to look and make sure that all the wrestling is going to be on or not, or like if they're going to be pulling the swerve. No
well, that's the thing. Like you want to watch for the wrestling they offer that week. You're not interested in the story aspect, which, like I said,
well, I want a good, like if you're going to give me, I want to know what the story is. Mm-hmm. Like I think that's part of why I got into pro wrestling is I didn't have to know everything that was going on, but when you watch the show, you should get the gist of what's going on, and the hope should be that if I'm watching these people fight right now and it's not like the big blow off the next week or this weekend or whatever, I should see another part of this the next week, and I think AEW does that. And then, like you were saying, they're trying to cram so much stuff in. So their next week's show, Tony Khan I wonder if he's like planned out weeks in advance, and it's hard to factor for something that may pop off all the time.
I think exact opposite, because you can tell, and Vin, you maybe might realize this too, like when WWE does something one week, he does that counter programming with, I'm going to have this match.
And a big announcement this week.
Or not the big announcement, like bringing in Vikingo, can you make it to like one up them, like, because that was the week before Mania?
I don't think he's really
something like that.
You think he would do a draft, Tony Khan?
A silent one, I think.
Yeah.
Damn,
he's gonna watch our show about it. Shouts out to the people in the YouTube comments.
He should hire us then.
The people need. How about that? The people in the YouTube comments. Especially they've been really rocking with what we've been doing.
All right, so that kind of segues
the drip draft
into. So when you have storytelling in real sports,
facts,
especially like wrestling storytelling. So like Vin, you're a big NBA fan, and like this whole Dylan Brooks thing again has been like the most wrestling thing to happen in a while, in terms of like one guy plays the heel on purpose, but is like, but you don't have the substance to like make it work.
Well, he fucked him. Can we curse because it's late enough?
Episode?
No, go in. He fucked himself over because Brooks screwed Brooks. Dylan screwed Dylan.
Dylan screwed Dylan
because he had that whole shtick about like, LeBron's old. I don't care. I don't respect anyone until they drop 40 on me. And then the team dropped 40 on him, and he sucked. And
trash.
Then he didn't. He went out like a bitch because he did not do the press conference afterwards. And
why was
could
it?
have saved him?
Did he say why? He just said I didn't want to talk.
No, they said, "Well, are you gonna do the press?" He just said no. He said he's not gonna do it. Yeah, look at him. Hi, Dylan.
Hey. Look at him. He's looking at LeBron. LeBron's looking away from him. He doesn't even care about this man.
He's nuts. Look at a glimmer in his eye. Like, yeah, he could have just got he could have done the press conference and been like, you know what? Yeah, fair play to him. I said what I said. You know,
it's basketball.
I tried to psych myself up.
No, you got to double down on being the heel at that point. You have to go full wrestling of like.
No, he doubled down on being a bitch is what he doubled down on.
No, but by not talking, that's worse than like I don't care.
That's what I'm saying. 40. Like he, it's worse that he didn't talk.
Yeah,
right.
Even if he had done the press conference and had been like, yeah, like whatever. Like, oh, did you see him stop me? Yeah, they may have won, but he didn't stop me. Like,
he should have said
he could have done.
That's the thing. He should have. The worst thing he could have done was saying nothing.
Yeah. Because when you want to,
and now he's gone, and it's fucked up.
Yeah.
To his credit, it is fucked up that the Memphis Grizzlies came out and someone leaked that statement that said, "Under no circumstances are we re-signing him." I've never heard that.
Shit to do with this person
ever. Like usually you hear like, "Oh well, we're gonna figure it out over the summer."
We'll talk to him.
Or even it's like, "Oh well, we're releasing him. We wish him the best. He's been an integral part of this team for the past 5 years." Right. Not under no circumstances are we re-signing him.
I don't. Who are you even talking about? Sir?
And this is the same team that has another guy who brandished a fucking gun at a nightclub and like was fucking stunting guns on people in his backyard.
But again, that's where like the NBA is just as dramatic and like, and who's writing this shit? Like, this Dylan Brooks thing, and like under no circumstances is the media scrum fallout. Like under no circumstances will CM Punk come back to this company. And guess what's fucking happening?
Well, my favorite, because the Dylan Brooks thing is last week's news. The story that I love this week that kind of went a little underreported, and I talked about it on the pod this week, is Pat Bev came out and was like, "Oh, I can't wait till me and Westbrook get sued and booted and get our rings with the Lakers this year." And for people who don't know, Pat Bev was on the Lakers earlier in the year, and they traded up at the trade deadline and got rid of him and Russell Westbrook, and now the team's much better. And a lot of people may not actually know this. If you're on the team earlier in the year and you get traded, and your team goes on, your former team goes on to win the championship, the league leaves it up to that team if they want to be nice and give you a ring. And be like, hey, your contributions to this team this year helped us get to this point. So you kind of leave it up to the team. But this is not a case that they traded up. It was addition by subtraction. Like they got rid of you to get better.
Right.
So it's like, no, you don't get a ring. Like
there's a reason you're not here, buddy.
Well, that's just a lot, like you said, like the politics of sports and like the way contracts work and stuff like that. Like Benji Molina, he was with the Giants for the first half of the 2010 season. They got traded to the Texas Rangers, and that was the World Series matchup that year. Was the Rangers versus the Giants. Like either way, like based off the logic, he could have walked away. He was walking away for a ring because he was a member of the Giants up until the trade deadline. And if the Rangers had won, he was a member of that team. So so for Pat Bev to be, again, it'd probably be a certain requirement. Like guys who go up and down from the G League probably don't.
He could get both.
No, I'm saying like if a G League player came up and played 10 games with the Lakers and went back down and stayed with the G League for the rest
they probably
of the
wouldn't
team,
get
he probably would be whatever the qualifications of the NBA are for like ring validation or requirements would be up to.
No, you should.
That would be hilarious. Like Pat Bev and like you said, Russell Westbrook, but like Dylan Brooks went out of his way like to be this villain this year. Like when athletes play wrestling, it's the funniest thing ever. Like he did the hair, he did the sunglasses, he did the outfits again, like, and then he does it on the court, like being a dirty player. But being also bad. Like, but it's like he's not that guy to even back up. Like if he
can back it up, that's great.
It'd be the best thing. And that's the thing about sports. It's like shit. Since it's so real, you can't script like this guy drops 40, and that's why when the people who talk shit and have great games, and then embrace the villain role. Like for a long time, Jalen Ramsey was that guy as the cornerback of the NFL. Richard Sherman was like the big heel of the NFL. Like when guys are able to produce and talk their shit and play the villain role, it works out so well. But since it's not scripted like wrestling, it's so tough. That's what I loved about Garcia versus Davis. Was like it was wrestling in the behind the scenes.
It's my favorite podcast,
Garcia versus Davis.
Because Tank Davis being like the protege of Mayweather and Ryan Garcia being under Oscar De La Hoya's promotion is like, again, that's Shakespeare. That's the WWE of like, well, he would like that person's protege is facing his enemy's protege. It's so like, what the fuck? Like, how can you come up with that? And that's where like those instances in sports are always amazing to me because
yo, that's your man's. Yeah, that's my man's. That's your man's. Oh yeah, we got fights. That's my man's.
Well, think about like, again, like Carlito, his dad was Carlos Colon. How many guys did he face that were the sons of Carlos Colon's rivals? Or, like Charlotte Flair and Natty, they brought up Bret Hart versus Ric Flair, right? Like that's the thing. Like real sports has those moments, and that's why they always try to do like narrative docu-series about sports, and it's done well. It's like because you're trying to write drama into sports, but again, like you have to rely on what's producing on the field or not. Like that's why F1, Drive to Survive, or Netflix's Full Swing works so well, is because those are done at the end. Like they it's not like live action like most sports is. Like they're able to script certain moments and certain things in the edit. You can dramatize a lot more, emphasize a lot more. But what are your favorite like wrestling moments in real sports?
Ooh, wrestling moments in real sports.
I like I always like when wrestling gets real. And there was one, I had to find it. It was from it was 30 years ago this summer. I remember being home from school when the Sixers, it was the Sixers, it was the Sixers and the Suns. And at one point, I guess Jerry Stackhouse wasn't having it no more, and he just started swinging on Jeff Hornacek. Like they had to stop the whole. It felt like the backstage wrestling with shadows, post Montreal Screwjob energy. Like I remember it happening on the Philly sports station, and I was so happy I didn't have to go to school the next day because they replayed it. So I stayed up to rewatch to see if they played the fight again. Sure enough, because it was like 10-15 minutes of commotion, and we got to chill out for a second because Jerry's just like bang, bang, bang. It was like you've seen
this
Christmas Story with Ralphie. That's how he was beating on Jeff Hornacek. Yeah,
this for your shitty copycat Michael Jordan documentary.
Goddamn, no good. Dude, whatever the fuck his dad was saying. Anyway, I like that type of.
It's like the Malice at the Palace.
Facts. That's where I go to when I.
Well, that's real actual wrestling of like shit getting thrown from the stands and like.
Facts. Facts.
Imagine if Scott Hall and Kevin Nash went into the crowd at the Bash '96.
I'm saying
punching people.
Yeah,
and those, not for nothing. Like those fans, I'm not gonna say they deserved it, but
hey,
some of them deserved it.
At a certain point, you're not going to keep swinging on me and throwing drinks at me and saying what you're saying at me and not expecting to do anything. Everybody's not built the same. Everybody is not Dylan Brooks. Anyway.
No.
But that's the thing is like, you can only like when Landon Donovan scored that goal in the World Cup, Ian Dark said like you cannot write a script like this because he scored a last minute goal to make USA survive and go to the next round.
Right.
And that's the thing about sports. Like one of the best moments this year was the World Baseball Classic, and the final at bat, the biggest moment was
same team.
Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, teammates, the star players for their teams, even though Mike Trout was the worst player for Team USA the whole World Baseball Classic, if you paid attention. He struck out like every other at-bat. So you knew like Shohei Ohtani was going to annihilate him. Bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, like the runner in scoring position, like do or die, and Shohei Ohtani, like that's wrestling. That's like, as like Brad Pitt says in Moneyball, like how can you not love baseball like that? And that's the beauty of sports. Like that happened naturally. They didn't script that. And that's
you sure they didn't script it? I always hear people saying
it was some
football player recently. He was like, "Yeah, man, I got the script. They said
Arian Foster said it.
Yeah, he's gonna get injured. Yeah. He's gonna get injured week 3, and the ref is gonna, like, he said he had the whole script for the fucking the season. He said he got it in the
Purdy if he wanted his arm ripped out of his fucking his elbow ripped out of his arm so the Niners cannot make the Super Bowl. Ask him if he's signing up for that. Like how that's hell no. Like,
is that the pro wrestling is predetermined, not fake conversation? Is that what happens when you say that NFL scripted?
Well, that's just bad conspiracy theory, because like the worst conspiracies are always the ones that require 1 million people to be in on it and on the same page, because that just doesn't happen. Like, oh, the NFL's conspiracy, and we've just never had any leaks about it ever up to this point.
I mean, hey, how much money? How much money would you have to get paid to not say anything about a grand conspiracy on the entire not just the American public, but the world?
I suppose so, but like, I don't know. I've never heard the Coast to Coast episode where someone called in and was like, I got the inside track on the NFL conspiracy.
It's gonna happen one of these days. There's gonna be some kid like he does 1 year in the football league. He gets popped out because he's like fucking addicted to Xanny and lean.
You know who would have? Antonio Brown would have been that guy, but they would be like, who's gonna believe Antonio Brown?
That's his album. Antonio Brown's album is the script. He's just rapping, and then they say the fourth quarter.
Yeah, like Richard Sherman's not coming out leaking that.
Yeah,
he's got too much money. He's got his own Subway sandwich at this point.
There was a thing where like Gordon Sully back in the day, it said like the NFL was scripted until the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl was the only real game.
Oh, that's that'd be funny. That's the real game.
Someone told Paul Heyman about that. He's like, well, I think after a couple bottles of vodka or whatever, Gordon Sully will kind of say whatever. So just in terms of like Gordon, he's like Gordon Sully was a bit of a drinker, so I wouldn't trust what he was saying.
We're gonna script the first 17 games, but this one final one.
Hell yeah.
We're gonna leave up the chance.
Oh yeah,
again,
why not?
You mean like a game in the snow? We're gonna script. All right, so here's how you should throw the ball when it's -2 degrees. Like,
hey, why not? How often does the entire America play in snow to know what snow's going to do to a football? I'm not saying it's as a conspiracy theorist. I'm just saying, like, at a certain point, I don't know what playing football in snow in Minnesota versus Jersey.
It was all part of the conspiracy. Have the Jets draft Zach Wilson?
But see, a real heel moment. Yeah, a real heel moment is Tom Brady deflating the balls. Like, that's a real heel moment in sports of like him, like, oh shit, we're playing in the cold. Like, these balls are going to be like rocks, so I got to deflate them a little bit so I can grip it easy. Like, that's like a real heel moment in the whole trial of like, did he deflate these footballs? Did he know who the person who deflated these footballs? It became cool. Like,
it's pro wrestling.
Exactly. Like, the biggest heel turn in sports was the decision. Like, LeBron James straight up said, like, I'm taking my talents to South Beach, and he became, and then he embraced it all year.
Wore the black mask, and
well, that was the next year he wore the actual black mask. But but he goes and cuts the promo of not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, and like he couldn't imagine of like, again, he was playing the villain. They all got on there with like their jerseys, and they like, and they had their Bash at the Beach 96 moment. They got on there, the three of them, and said, "This is the new world order of the NBA." Like,
yeah. Well, I guess if we're comparing, because there's dark stuff too. Like, is Benoit and Aaron Hernandez, like, those are like fairly close in terms of leading another.
Was Aaron Hernandez part of the script?
I mean, I will say, only in America could a guy get away being that brazen as a gang member. Apparently, from what I've seen on the case, he was an open college football player doing well on the field, and then just like brandishing guns at stoplights and shooting at people, and like, he was living the life for a minute anyway.
Urban Meyer was basically Vince McMahon, like, don't worry, I'll cover it up.
I'll cover it. Yeah, I mean, hey, Jimmy Snuka.
Bob, Barry Switzer, like, like, hey, like, my boys will be boys, huh? Like,
that's some big league. It's too much money. Too much money to be messing up the product.
Yeah.
Especially when you go off script.
And that's why I said a few weeks ago when I talked about Brooks Koepka, like he won a live golf event in the next week, could have won the Masters, and I tried to equate to like that's what John Moxley said he could have done when he was the AEW World Champion. He's like, I could have been the AEW World Champion and shown up at fucking SummerSlam with the AEW belt because of my contract. Like,
right.
Again, imagine something like that happening where like one guy who's in one league, that'd be like someone. Well, that's the thing. Like the NBA only had like you can be the G League star player and go up and be Finals MVP because that's how it
you're
works.
Not gonna, you're not gonna win the Larry O'Brien and then go over to the Chinese league and
right. You don't know. Maybe you can if you're about that life.
No, but no, you can do that. But you're not gonna bring the Larry O'Brien trophy.
I wish
like,
one guy.
This is the Chinese trophy now. Like,
see, I wish one guy would. Whoever wins the finals this year, that's like the third or fourth best players. Like, you know what? I'm gonna go over to the CBA.
Or be like your man Hogan.
Yeah.
I won this title, but this is trash. Your title's the real one.
Yeah, he's gonna have his finals. He's gonna have a ring on both. And be like, see, I got no one else is like me. Because that's the thing about like Lance Stevenson is like, and all these guys who kind of flame out. Even though Lance Stevenson was a great heel, because again, he could back it up on the court. He had like his 2 or 3 years where he was like that guy for real. But again, the blowing in LeBron's ears, like they're calling him a choke artist, and like
that was weird. You get blow in his ear, like.
But still, like he could hit these clutch fadeaways and like take it to the lane. Like he wasn't scared to guard LeBron. Like he was like that Jay White heel. Like I'll do heel stuff, but I'm gonna make sure I back it up. Like
I'm also gonna blow in your ears.
Blowing in your ears, like
you're gonna untie your shoes while you're not looking.
Blow ears.
Or maybe you watch some Gold Dust where he's like,
no, that shit is weird. That shit is weird.
Shatter your dreams, LeBron.
Why would you
let's see, you got.
Is
there a whole blow? Please tell me there's a blowing ear compilation.
I didn't look. I went to Google Images.
Some weirdo fucking cut together
because I wanted to find because this just looks so weird. Like he's just in. This is in a game. Yeah,
and again, LeBron's not even looking.
LeBron wants no parts.
LeBron hasn't been looking at people who are beneath him for 20 years now.
He's not even look at this. Look at this.
Yeah, he's John Cena. Like, all right, it's the Miz this time. Okay, fuck. All right, if you say so. He's like, it's Wade Barrett this time. Okay, all right, it's Sheamus. Okay, you know. He's like,
he's blowing a copy of Mega Man 3.
That sounds crazy. This one too. Like what the fuck? It's the springtime. People are nuts. I'm sorry, Drip. I'm sorry.
No, because that's like because in real sports, like you want to like the team you hate, like you want to have the reason to hate them besides like they're your rival. Like you want to hate this guy for like what he does besides being like super good. It's like him being super good makes it even worse. But like if he's doing all the antics off the court and being an asshole, again, like Dylan Brooks did all this stuff for whatever reason, again, to get attention or to make himself stand out. Like he was going out of his way to like dress this way, talk this way. And then when it came to the courts, like the numbers aren't adding up for you to be like,
the math ain't math.
Because at least like Dennis Rodman was that guy.
For you, Dylan Brooks.
Because at least Dennis Rodman was that guy in terms of like the antics match, like the style. He was the only guy who could really do that.
The Bad Boy Pistons were those guys. Like, you know.
That's real ridiculous. I don't think.
But they didn't try to play wrestler like Dennis Rodman would after the Bad Boy Pistons would be the thing. Like Dennis Rodman, and that's the whole Karl Malone thing. Start like legit had a match because of it.
This is weird. This is really odd. I forgot people did stuff like this. Look at that. That's pro wrestling. He's not pinned on. Like, both his shoulders aren't on the mat.
Yeah.
That's okay.
He's
actually somehow looks weirder than SpongeBob.
I was gonna say that one's
Three Little Pigs.
That's Three Little Pigs.
That's a classic.
It's classic.
He blew Jay-Z into the water.
He blew Jay-Z and Beyonce into the water.
That's when two memes collide.
He's sleeping on a Tempur-Pedic.
There's a
proper blowing houses down. He's blowing the heat.
He's blowing the heat. Sounds crazy.
He's blowing Marilyn Monroe.
That doesn't even make sense though. He should be the other way, right?
Yeah, there's the one we just saw.
That's it on again. I'm sorry, Drew.
This is lower quality.
Oh look,
there he is. Yeah,
he's sleeping in a bed.
Sleeping in a car bed.
No way. He's at a kid's party.
What about the candle?
What the fuck?
Because that was when
was that the dunk contest?
Yeah, I can't remember. Oh, I think it was Gerald Green. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Why Lance didn't want to blow in my?
Oh, because they did Chris Bosh so dirty with the memes back then.
Yeah,
like, it was his own fault because they caught him at the wrong time. But yeah.
I'm sorry.
Hot dog spaghetti.
No, it's just one of those things. Like the only thing that can get as close to wrestling is boxing or UFC in terms of like stories, because those guys, like at the end of the day, they're going to beat each other up for real. And the press conferences and all that, like the All Access or 24/7s do a good job of like building the story to fight.
Yeah. Speaking of real, you ever actually make that hot dog spaghetti? I've never known anyone to actually.
No, I was never big on putting hot dogs in the spaghetti. I like my hot dogs separate.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people who do. Hot dogs and spaghetti, hot dogs in
well, I just remember it was hot dog and like SpaghettiOs with the Franks.
You can buy them like that, yeah.
Yeah. But never like I'm gonna chop up a glizzy and like put the spaghetti through it, and then put it in a pot of boiling water, and like here you go, my lovely wife. Here's
that sounds awful.
Yeah,
no, it's probably good.
On that,
it's probably good. I mean, it's all pork anyway, right? Unless you're getting the beef frank.
I guess so.
I'm saying like. Unless you're getting the all beef hot dogs, it's no. I'm like, you'll have like pork sausage and things like that, and maybe it's
I've had like Italian sausage cut up.
Maybe the little hot dog is a decent sub. Don't ask me. I'm not putting hot dogs in my spaghetti.
What would you do if like you're like, hey, family, I'm cooking dinner tonight.
What you guys want?
Serve them. Yeah, what you guys want? You want the Viennas or you want the?
You want some Vienna sausage and this marinara sauce?
Yeah.
Jesus, that sounds
I got
terrible.
I got some Hebrews. I got some Viennas. What you
some Hebrew nationals. Some angel hairs.
Yeah.
And some ragu. What you want?
I got some elbow macaroni and some Vienna sausages. What do you want?
It's disgusting. I want you to call Uber Eats, Dad.
We discussed this on the past episode. People eat weird things or combine things again, not just like to pick on Mimi's Haitian culture, but like people like certain delicacies mix well or whatever.
You'd be surprised what people do. They combine stuff. Yeah. What's
Mimi, oxtail.
It was it was the mac and cheese. With,
it was Haitian mac and cheese. No, it was Haitian eggs. Haitian eggs was the one.
Oh, it was mac and cheese first, and then the eggs.
It was mac and cheese first. Haitian eggs is what we just had this convo about. I don't know. It looked like
Haitian mac and cheese probably wouldn't be bad.
It's just adding stuff to mac and cheese.
Yeah. I don't know about this Haitian egg. I don't know. I was not privy to that. I don't know.
It looked like she talked about on the show. It looked like an omelet, but like they like put all type.
Yeah, a frittata too. I think is what.
Yeah, someone called it a Haitian frittata. Essentially, I don't really know what a frittata. You just add stuff to eggs.
That sounds like an omelet to me.
Yeah,
it looked kind of, or like you made scrambled eggs, but you also put like peppers and potatoes and
again, it's just a Western omelet.
Glizzies. Well, I think they may put like chopped up glizzies in there too. I think they do. Glizzy. I think they put
chopped all up glizzy restaurant. All dogs.
all dogs. That's the name of the restaurant.
Yeah, all dogs. Oops, all dogs.
It's all different variations of glizzy pasta. Glizzy
I was listening to something once where someone was like, over here we call it this, and my grandmother makes. Oh yeah, fuck your grandmother. Your grandmother makes like, because it's called egg roll over here, but you call it something different. It's a cannoli over here, but it's an egg roll over there. With cheese. Yeah, it's
Royale. We'll call our glizzies Royale with cheese.
You know what they call a glizzy in France? No, what a Royale.
Yeah, call it Royale with pork.
A Royale with cheese. No, I'm sorry, Drew.
They would call it whatever Bill Skarsgård French accent and John Wick. We call it a the glizzy,
a PP. The PP, the PP.
Pork product.
Two PP, two.
Two PP.
And I forgot to say, we were talking about the writers' strike.
I'm sorry.
An hour ago we were talking about the writers' strike. I remember when the writers' strike happened in 2007.
Oh, I did too, yeah.
Yeah, no, that was actually it was awkward.
Yeah. It was awkward because like Conan O'Brien was the late night shows were fucking weird, but in a good way. Like Conan O'Brien was just like fucking spinning his wedding ring on his desk every show.
Yeah, he didn't care.
Because it was just like, what are we gonna do? Like, we know we don't have writers, we don't have writers, but we also have staff that we need to keep employed. Exactly. So we gotta be here.
We gotta do something, yeah. Damn.
What I remember was because I just read an article that talked about what CBS was trying to do, and this is how I found out about Dexter, was that they aired edited versions of Dexter on
I remember
CBS,
that.
And that's how my mom got interested. She was like, because we didn't have Showtime, she's like, oh, I've been wanting to watch the show because I've heard about it. So she watched the edited versions and then was able to get DVDs of it later on. But it's like, so they just again, what we talked about earlier, where Paramount Plus shows on Paramount to get people interested, but to air an edited version of a show on, they were just like, we got time slots. How do we fill them?
Well, that's like when they started. It gets weird, like when they started airing Sopranos episodes on A&E.
There's a great Mad TV.
I forgot about that.
But there's a great Mad TV. It's like 4 minutes because it's just because he's just like, you mother. Yeah, and then it's just see you next week.
I told you to give. It just cuts.
It's like it's edited so fucking brilliant. Like Will Sasser's just like you. It's like talking to that and he's like, oh, I oughta. It's just
and then by the end of it, it's just like.
It's brilliant. Like I said, it's a great Mad TV skit, but no, there are 2 projects that have been announced in the last couple weeks. One, we talked about Blade last week getting Nick Pizzolatto as a writer. They have now halted production, which is well, no shit. If the writer's strike happens and you just hired a writer, of course you can't go into production.
Yeah. Nope.
Again, that project is doomed. But
Wesley Snipes is gonna now be writing the Blade movie.
Says, I got you. Don't worry, I got you.
He must have done a curse or something. Like whoever because that project is doomed. Like I told this last weekend, when Mahershala Ali calls you and says, I want to be Blade, and your plan wasn't to do Blade at all, that's when you know this movie shouldn't be made.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
We talked about maybe the MCU getting back on track with Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but for Blade to be this up and down in terms of directors
did you ever hear the story about Blade 3?
And his him calling Ryan Reynolds cracker the whole time.
Well, no, it's a difference. I think Patton Oswalt talks about it because he's like a big character in it. How Wesley Snipes, if you really pay attention to the movie, he refused to do any, not just his own stunts, but any running, anything. So all you see is close-ups of his face the entire movie, and everything else is just his stunt double, everything else.
But he was so serious about being in character the whole time too, though, right?
Yeah.
No, it was just
he wasn't.
At that,
I don't know if he was
too
in character or if he just didn't care.
I think it was he didn't care because at that point it was just I don't know if he was contractually obligated or they just gave him so much money to do it. Because again, that's the one that has the co-production with WWE because Triple H is in it.
Yeah.
So so maybe at that point Wesley Snipes just
I'm gonna hunt the vampires.
I gotta do Blade 3. Might as well just he did what Nick Cage would do, or what actors that not Nick Cage, Marlon Brando, I'm showing up, I'm doing what I want. They're like, oh shit.
Well, Marlon Brando was the king of that shit. What was the Island of Dr. Moreau where he just had a little person? He was like, let's put a bucket on his head.
Well, I mean, the whole point of Apocalypse Now was it's building to this climactic moment, and then Francis Ford Coppola's like, Marlon, what'd you do to yourself? You're out of shape, man. Because he's just at that point, you'd almost
had to put him in shadows. Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, in Apocalypse Now, he came, he showed up too heavy for the role, so that's why in his big scene in the movie they have him almost completely in shadow, so you don't see him.
Which is again one of those brilliant things, that because it became so iconic, the sweaty head, and you can only see it through this tiny glimmer of light. It's this iconic moment in movie history. Just the shark not working in Jaws is what saved the movie, because it's the shark's supposed to be in it the whole time, but the fact that it didn't work suits where it was like, what if we shoot around the shark?
What was the other movie? It was another movie from the 90s that had like Matthew Broderick in it. I forget the name, but it was directed by Frank Oz. And Marlon Brando. It was like one of his last films. And he didn't want to be directed by Frank Oz. And De Niro was also in the movie, so his scenes ended up being directed by De Niro.
Because that's he kept Ed Norton. It's the score.
Yes, the score. And he was just... He's like, no, I don't want to Miss Piggy. He kept calling him Miss Piggy. He's like, I don't want
Yeah. No, Marlon Brando and Matthew Broderick is the freshman in which he plays a guy who's supposed to be the basis for Don Corleone. Yeah.
This is Blade Trinity.
Yeah. Yep. I've never seen it though. I do know the story that Patton Oswalt says where he's like, he didn't call Ryan Reynolds by his name. He just called him Cracker. He showed up drunk or high.
He's always high,
yeah.
They said he was out of his mind, though. I mean, like he was Blade. Maybe he had to get right.
Maybe, yeah.
He had to. That's part of his method. He was a method actor.
Oh yeah, he was definitely like Keegan Michael Key did Bill Simmons' podcast a few years ago and talked about how like actory Wesley Snipes is and how he was amazed by it. Not that he didn't know, but he just like when they made Dolomite Is My Name. He's like the choices I would see Wesley do. He it amazed Keegan Michael. He's like, oh,
he wouldn't have even.
I wouldn't have thought. Yeah, like you can just like, which is funny that like this man was like the biggest action star at the same time, and it was like classically trained. And I mean, he did White Man Can't Jump, in which he was like the worst basketball player of all time. But I mean, Jack Harlow looks like he's going to be the worst basketball player of all time too. So I can't knock him.
But I think it would have been Money Train. I think. What? Because I don't think Wesley wasn't doing a lot of he was in New Jack City too, but I think it was Money Train, or like right around then is when he started doing more Passenger 57s and
Money Train. I always think that was one of J-Lo's first movies, right?
Yeah. I think that may have been the first one.
Yeah, because I remember that I always saw that on not on them, just on pay-per-view. Like,
the one time I saw it came on HBO late, like real late at night one night.
Yeah, it was a big like cable big cable movie at that time.
Right.
Like Con Air, I think of as like a cable movie.
The plane. Sorry.
Anyway. Con Air Face Off.
I saw that in the theater.
Really?
Face Off, yeah. That summer with my cousin and my aunt. Odd movie. I liked it though. We were
definitely an odd.
Say an odd? No, it's not. It's what it's.
They just swap faces. What are you talking about?
It's not an odd movie at all. That's exactly what it should be. Like when a movie is called Face Off, and I think there's a joke like you expect it to be like, is it a hockey movie? What is it like? What's it gonna be? It's like no,
their faces come off.
Their faces come off, but it's like
swap their faces.
Again, this is another good Adam Carolla, Bill Simmons. When they review Face Off, because like one guy has the head the size of a bucket, the other has the head the size of a watermelon. Like how?
Right.
But they're like, oh no, you again. One man is balding, the other man is not as balding as the other. So it's like because again they give.
It took me out of it.
Haircuts. It doesn't make any sense.
It took me when I was sitting there thinking about that.
Writers, Cal. Writers made that.
Shouts to the writers got paid for that grift. Like they don't how is they went home to talk to their kid. Like they wouldn't notice like, oh, daddy doesn't smell the same or doesn't his hands like like come on at a certain point, somebody in your family is going to know that ain't you. They have to.
So if they had just made it like mind swap, would that have been better?
I'm saying that at a certain point, the wife is going to know that that's not the husband.
Yeah, that they do
Apparently
that when she
not.
takes his blood. No, or when she draws his blood.
Yeah, she draws his blood.
Like Casper.
I'm talking about that
is O negative or whatever. Like,
when it's time to have adult time in the bedroom.
Oh, that's the ultimate joke of like.
Yeah, that's the joke. Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
But they say the doctor says like we can change, we can alter your body to fit his. So again, the whole process.
Yeah, and how do they know that?
Did Face Off create BBLs? Like we can give you this, we can give you that, we can.
It got to be
butt off now.
A little butt off is funny. It got to be a little too
convoluted. We can do what's that.
The thing is, I watch all these. I tune out at a certain point. I tune out at Demolition Man. There's a point in Demolition Man where I can't take that movie. Like there's nothing about this movie that's got me attached to it at all. Once they're in the sewer.
When the whole Dennis Leary bit is like, okay, the uprising, we get it. Yeah.
Once they go into the sewers, I'm like, all right, what else is on? When's wrestling on? Like, I can't.
Because the first 30 minutes are brilliant. Like, again, like he's the ultimate terrorist.
Wesley, he's tapping the fucking shit. But then he's getting guns out and shit. Like
when he hates crime in a world where there's no crime, or he's just like, man, fuck this shit, right? He's just
I saw that in theaters too. That was a fun movie to see in theaters. We were kind of young though. There's some shitting and fucking
need writers because you need writers. How else do you get movies like that, or like the movies that they've announced? Like they've announced Street Fighter will be remade by the guys who made the Talk to Me movie.
Yeah,
we talked about that. We talked about that trailer a few weeks ago, and they were the YouTubers Raka Raka. I think they'll do a great job with Street Fighter because if you've ever watched their YouTube videos, they have a great sense of action. So if they have a budget to do Street Fighter, that'll be interesting.
It's going to be like, but what's a Street Fighter movie?
Well, here's the thing.
It's about the tournament.
In my eyes, because the other news this week was that Karl Urban is kind of being tapped to play Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat 2. Which doesn't shock me because that's basically an Australian production. Like the woman who plays Sonya Blade's Australian, the director's Australian.
Right.
If there was ever a time to get this is the Miz's moment. This is when you hire the Miz.
The whole Miz for Johnny Cage is the worst thing that the internet tried to invent because he threw those shitty Daniel Bryan.
Too logical?
No, because he can't
makes
act.
Too much sense.
He can't act.
But didn't even get Johnny Cage. That's the whole point of Johnny Cage.
No, you have to get a guy you have to get a guy better than you need Zac Efron's the perfect choice for Johnny Cage, not the Miz.
He wrestling with Zac Efron is a whole Von Erich right now.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And he's probably a better
real wrestler.
Point.
Get the Miz.
Get the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, the Miz.
Damn.
Just joking.
But these two projects,
or am I?
I don't know. I've always thought Mortal Kombat could have been the next Game of Thrones.
I feel like the pandemic probably hampered Mortal Kombat because I have a feeling that if it came out now, people would be a little more into it. Because everyone who saw it seems to tell me, I didn't see it, but everyone who saw the new one was like, "Oh yeah, no, that's a representative Mortal Kombat movie."
It felt like Mortal Kombat.
Except they create a whole new character to be the Avatar. That's
Mortal Kombat,
and that was the worst thing.
By the end of the film, I was like, "Yeah, this is happening."
Yeah,
that looks like it could happen.
No, don't do that. No.
Is this?
That's just as bad because it's like I do like Karl Urban. He is great, but for him to be martial artist, I don't see Karl Urban as martial artist.
He seems a little too old to be Johnny. Johnny Cage is supposed to be the flashing bulbs. He's like a star right now. Karl Urban looks like he's been a star.
The grizzled veteran,
Mortal Kombat.
I still love that original. When people say there's no good video game movies, it's like, no, people loved that first Mortal Kombat movie. That was the big breakout hit.
For the other,
I remember watching that in Taekwondo class as a kid. They got a bootleg of it.
Pizza in the movie is a bootleg of Mortal Kombat.
A bootleg of Mortal Kombat.
Somebody's
and
mom cooked some Elios.
Yeah, cooked up some Elios and we watched Mortal Kombat. But all I remember is, the scene at the end when Liu Kang or Shao Kahn gets kicked into the big pit of spikes.
Yeah.
When they do that, because we're kids, all the people were all the kids were squeamish, oh no, and the guy running the tape kept replaying it over and over again, and just laughing, and just fucking making the kids cry.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying
that used to be great. Friday afternoon with a Taekwondo, and then next door there was a Palmer Video, a little rental store. So it's that was a good Friday. That was a good Friday.
Palmer Video sounds like the porno video store.
Well, you didn't have any Palmer. They were a Jersey chain too, I think.
I didn't have in my area, but my area it was a lot more mom and pops. I loved There was one part. Was it? When did I get?
It eventually got bought and became a West Coast video. So maybe you had those.
I had. There was one mom and pop that had they had a lot of videos, but then they also had PlayStation games. I used to rent PlayStation games all the time. I used to love it. I didn't get back into playing video games.
Yeah, I remember renting a lot of Genesis games, and back then it was like you didn't have the internet like you have it now. So it's just you just went on what looked good,
right,
or what looked weird
on the cover,
or what looked weird. So I remember renting Michael Jackson's Moonwalker.
I may still have that game,
playing it and being like, "What the fuck is this?" Like, what? Michael, like you're saving children the whole game.
Yeah, the whole movie is saving children.
And there's like weird shit. You turn into a robot and you can like kick. There's dogs that come after you. Could kick the dogs.
You kick the dogs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Internet's after you watch this, you can look for one thing I like to do when I'm avoiding the world. I'll watch like full playthroughs of Nintendo games. Maybe find a gameplay video of Michael Jackson's Moonwalker.
Well, if we're talking about bad game, I was just talking to Fam about this because after the playoffs, I may do an episode of Oddball where I bring on Fam and Math to play a double feature: Shaq Fu and Michael Jordan. Was it Trouble in the Windy City?
I remember that game. I never played it. I played Shaq Fu though.
It's a Michael Jordan platformer.
It made
where you're running around. Look it up because there's probably
like Michael Jordan of it. Grand Theft Auto, but like it's
a platformer. Like imagine like Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah.
But with Michael Jordan, and he's got different basketballs that have like different abilities.
They were colored basketballs.
They were colored basketballs.
Do you think we need that now?
Michael Jordan?
No, like
a Michael Jordan video game.
No, like because they stopped making video games off of movies. Like that was the thing for a while. It was like the Fantastic Four movie had Fantastic Four the game to come with it. Like I loved playing the video game to Wanted because I could finally fucking curve bullets and shit. That was one of my favorite games.
Yeah, they don't do a ton of those anymore.
They don't. I'm saying, do they need to bring that back? Like.
I think so if you got a good idea for one, like if the movie makes sense.
Because they've tried to do because the MCU became so holy shit.
That's the game. You're just like dunking around and
I like the life bars that say that guy that's just a zombie with a basketball head. That's what that is.
That's crazy.
I love the life meter is just his head.
Hey, so it's going gray?
I'm sure maybe he makes different faces. Like,
ooh, like in Doom.
Yeah, it's like the Doom guy.
I'm sorry.
Because what I mean is like they've made like an Avengers game, they made like a Guardians of the Galaxy game, but it's still not like MCU official because
they're not tied to those specific games.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, do we need to bring that back, or do we need to bring back like weird sports games, or it's just like because again we have NBA 2K, we'll have Madden. Like,
I want the weird sports games like the Mutant League Hockey, like.
Yeah, kind of
NBA Street, like
I would say NBA Ballers or NBA Street. Yeah,
Ballers. Yeah. Well, Ballers was the real weird one, right? Because it was like, you could customize your mansion. It's like,
it's like, and you can only play 1-on-1, and you can dress in like athleisure, basically. Yeah,
yeah. No, that's what I did. My whole collection was throwback jerseys, do rags, and like different color shorts, and so I just played the game to get more whatever to get. I had all the gear. But
that run of EA big games where it was like SSX Tricky, and NFL Street, NBA Street, what else? There was a couple other one like that was great. Like whatever they did, and then like a couple years later, they basically like lost it. They were just like, whatever magic we had, we ain't got it anymore.
It's a wrap.
And the peak of it was very clearly NBA Street Volume 2. Which I still think is the best. People will hold up NBA Jam, and I can't argue with that. But for me, NBA Street Volume 2 is the best pick-up-and-play basketball game ever for a console.
I respect it.
I think it was the first basketball game I played.
Because it had the style. It had the gameplay, and it had the style to spare. Like, from the soundtrack to, like... When you turn on the game, they reminisce over you plays.
Right.
Like that's a good note to start on. And like it had that 70s by way of like the early 2000s aesthetic. Like it just really nailed what they were going for. It had all the courts, and they were real courts. Like you could play at Rucker Park, and like all these that like.
But you got to still have the thing is that's like you can't have that and not have the simulation game though, right? Because at a certain point, I think the kids today they play the what's the 2K whatever the playground whatever it's called.
Yeah,
but there are people
my court,
but they will still do the career mode or whatever and want to be the person playing as I don't say Kobe or Steph Curry or whoever.
I guess, but all I ever hear about the career mode is that everyone hates the story.
Yeah.
Like shout out to Patrick Pryor. Like he had a tweet that went viral last year where he was like, "I just want to fucking hoop," and the clip was like, so people yelling at your creative guy because you're wearing like a rival shoe company's shoes. Yes. And he's just like, I just want to hoop.
Well, see, that's the thing I would like.
Want to play basketball.
That's the thing I kind of.
I don't want to. I don't want to do a mini game where I cut a record and like, try and sell an album. Like
that part was a little corny. I haven't played that one, but I did see like the newest edition this year is like you can be a rapper as well. But like I would want like you can cut like you. The whole thing about NBA players now is like the fits before the games, like tunnel fits, like where guys wearing in the games. Like that should be a thing that's important because. Or just like you show up in a blank suit and on the way to the games, like no, like I wish they could incorporate like Grand Theft Auto lifestyle stuff into NBA, or like you drive your car there,
like you do things in real time.
Right.
Yeah,
that'd be kind of cool. If they went full on that, I'd be cool with that.
If they could figure it out,
where it's like you're actually living the life,
right?
Exactly, and that's the thing. But I mean, I never played it, but I always remember like 50 Cent.
You got to wake up and watch Skip Bayless yell at you at 10 in the morning.
Watching game footage
go
and
tweet about it.
Because they always do like you have a tweet alert, you have an email alert, and it's like congratulations, or you got to pick it up. It's like if you can actually like interact and like tweet for yourself, that'd be amazing.
If I can go and run over someone who's wronged me, like in Grand Theft Auto.
No, pull again. Like you do some John Morant. I don't want to say let's do some John Morant and have some guns. Or like let's make it like you and so don't get along. Like if they could allow an option where
like, a guy go to Dylan Brooks' house and slap him around a little.
Or no, if you like if they have like a cutscene or like a guy like pushes you hard charge like press X to like shove him.
Right. Do you want to retaliate? Yeah. Do you want to kiss him and freak him out? Like, what do you want to do?
That's crazy.
But I think it's because I mean I don't really play video games as much anymore. But that's the thing. Like if they put more thought into it like that for certain ones, they've tried it like the NFL and like there are good moments like you could start in high school or start in college and work your way up by playing a couple games. And the NBA's try to do that too. But it's always like I remember I love playing that college football, but it's also like. During the week, you have to choose to go to class or choose to go to the weight room. And if your GPA goes down, you can't play in the game. I did that one time just to see what would happen, and it'd be like, "Oh, you can't play this week." I'm like, "Shit," because I was like trying to get my attributes up instead.
No.
Yeah, as far as the football games, I definitely always prefer the NCAA.
Yeah, those are the best
EA games because there was just a lot more to them.
I like playing NBA Jam. But
NBA Jam is just it's the standard.
Or what was the other? I played
it's NBA Jam. Then there was College Slam, which was the one for the equivalent game.
I played
NCAA.
I played a lot of NBA Live as well. NBA Live 94, but NBA Live 95 was the game where I realized that they you could create. I think they had create characters from like the past, so you would get like Lou Alcindor, and he'd have an afro and stuff. So my teams would be.
What's really ridiculous. Fun? You should look up one day just how many NBA games came out from like 1988 to 1997 because it's way more. Like I watched a compilation recently where they showed like 5 seconds of each, and it was like a 20-minute compilation. It was insane. like games you don't even remember,
yeah,
endorsed by people you don't even like fucking like Dick Vitale's Awesome Baby College Hoops.
Jeff Horn and Chicks Don't Hit Me Basketball Madness.
Well, there was what the what's his face in the Pistons? Bill Lambier's Combat Basketball.
Yeah, that was the Michael Jackson's Moonwalker video game of basketball. Like you were just big mechs.
You were a big mech trying to throw basketball. Like who the fuck gave Bill Lambier a license?
Some people love that game though. But yeah, Bill.
Do they?
I watched one video they were talking.
It's not.
I never played it. I didn't have a Super Nintendo, but this looks awkward.
Right?
Was it? It's not.
It's isometric. I don't like it.
Yeah, this is fucking weird. Oh, sorry, Drew.
No.
Yeah, we gotta. I'm sorry, we gotta bring Bill Lambier into this.
No, we'll drop this week.
Because, like I said, I remember like 50 Cent had a game, and I'm like, it's like the license of like who could get a video game back.
Oh yeah, 50 Cent. Wasn't that like he basically won the Iraq War? Like he goes to There was blood sport. What was it? Like blood something.
Blood in the sand.
Blood in the sand. Yeah,
which is like I'm like you mean to tell me like someone doesn't want to do that now? Like Quavo doesn't want to have the Quavo game, or like
I don't think
he goes and like fights he wins the Ukraine war or something. Like,
like 21 Savage again. Like he shows up and he's back in London on the grimy streets, bro, and he has to like knife his way through it.
This is crazy. There's Lloyd Banks is in this 50 Cent game.
Yeah, Lloyd.
The problem is that
was
people.
The second one because wasn't the first one like Bulletproof? Like
that's what I'm thinking of. Bulletproof.
There were two, I think.
And then Blood in the Sand. Anyway. Yeah, send in the real. Forget the Marines. We got the real G unit.
We got the real G unit. But no, I think the landscape of gaming is different these days. Like it's Fortnite. They don't.
They do that.
We get Lloyd Banks in Fortnite.
No, they would because of skins, right?
But it's cooler to be a skin in the most popular game than to put your name on a game. And if you put your name on a game and the game is trash, like you look like garbage. You're not in whatever you did was just a big waste.
But you make more money. Like going back to the basketball game.
You get a bigger bag.
That's why in the 90s games Charles Barkley was not in those games.
That's right.
He had Barkley Shut Up and Jam.
Mm-hmm.
Which my favorite bit of trivia about Barkley Shut Up and Jam is there's a company called Pico Interactive which bought the rights to it recently and released it on their own like proprietary like plug and play thing. And they bought the rights to the game, so they don't have the rights to Barkley. So what they did is they digitally pasted a guy's face over Charles Barkley, and it's a guy named Joe Hoops.
Shouts to Joe Hoops.
And it's Hoops Shut Up and Look up. You gotta look this up. This guy, it looks like they put fucking Bomani Jones's face on him.
Joe Hoops. Charles.
What you said about the licensing too, like I would play MVP Baseball 2005, and Barry Bonds isn't in that game, and I'm a Giants fan. I'm like, oh, I want to use the Giants, and like he isn't. And he's replaced by this guy John Dowd, who's this white guy, left-handed hitter who wears number 26, and it's like he has the Barry Bonds build. It's like I asked my dad, I'm like, why isn't Barry Bonds in this game? And my dad's like, it's a licensing thing. He didn't allow his license. But if you played fucking backyard baseball, I could use Barry Bonds, and I would play backyard baseball.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah, Cal's looking at it. Some of these Joe Hoops pictures are insane.
This is Joe Hoops right here. Hold up, there's this.
Sweet pea, Sarge. Gunner. Why does Gunner look like
Sarge? Look like swole drip.
No, that's the prototype. That's John Cena.
Yeah, prototype John Cena.
Who's Gunner? Gunner. That's not his hair. It looks like not Steve Gutenberg, but what's the what's the wiener? The fucking the New York guy who showed he got in trouble.
Oh, Anthony Weiner.
Yeah, he looks like Anthony Weiner got like a blonde fade flat top. Yeah, this is crazy. That's actually ridiculous.
I was gonna say he looks a little like Guile from Street Fighter, but
yeah,
Guile with a flat top.
Yeah, Guile Wiener.
Guile Wiener. Not the name of the episode either. I'm sorry. Go weird.
Call this guy.
Damn Drip. Is that it? Is there anything else?
No, that's it.
Yeah, what else is on the notes?
That was that. No, that's thing. There was a light week this week. I was trying to think of. That's why when Ben asked me the notes, I'm like, I had no idea prior, like I've had in the past. Like it was just, it's a quiet week. But again, when you have a guest like Vin, you can talk about anything and everything.
No, you really can.
Kinda, yeah. We can keep going. I'm down.
I can't.
I gotta get going.
I cannot. If we want this episode to go up tonight, if we want this episode to go up on Emilio Sparks' birthday,
happy birthday, happy big 4-0.
Who?
It's the big 4. Damn, he said who? That's crazy.
Well, on the last episode, I don't know if you on the last episode of Wrestle Rap, I mentioned Drip, and he was like, "Who?"
Damn.
That's it. We got to. I mean, I'm not trying to invite myself to Wrestle Rap, but that's the thing that needs to happen.
That's good because there's one man stopping you from being on it. It ain't me.
I would love to be on just for Vin and I only to talk, and then whenever I would say something, he either
that's got to be the plan. It's got to be a week when he's not there.
Right.
He's get someone to be on it. Oh, you want him to actually?
Yeah.
Drip said no. He needs to be in this one.
Yeah. Because what I want
Drip's making the call for Emilio's.
I want him to be there just so he can know. So the entire time, like I say something, he just like ignores what I said. And then Vin says something. He's like, "That's a great point." But then I'm like, "I just said that." Like something like
ridiculous. Shout outs. Anything we wanted to shout out? Vin,
you got anything to plug?
Do I? Yeah. Like we just said, Wrestle Rap on all social media platforms at Wrestle Rap. We've been throwing more stuff up on the feed. So we do the episodes that drop on Saturdays, and then we are planning on. We already did a couple, so they're up on the feed. But we did like a segment that we just threw up on Trinity joining Impact. We did one for the new belt. Well, no, that was the episode. Whatever. Go on the feed. You'll see it.
Check out the feed.
And then Oddball, which is the podcast I do solo. And I have guests on there. And it's the prime time to be listening because it's right in the middle of the NBA playoffs. So go subscribe to that wherever you get your podcast. Occasionally I've been putting up some articles over on Substack. So go to vinforte.substack.com. And then I also started finally getting on the ball with streaming on Twitch lately. So twitch.tv/Mighty Vin. And playing weird video games on there. Some ROM hacks. I'm good. Like I said, I'm going to try and have more people on. So stay tuned for that.
Twitch is still something I haven't figured out. Like, should I do it or not?
Do it. Maybe come on. Suggest a video game that you want to see, and you can come on and see how you like it.
Maybe saying you got to be on there.
Or we could just watch. Or we could just watch something. I want to do a stream where we watch. Maybe Cal is one to get you in on, where we watch rollerball clips, roller derby. Because that got me very intrigued when we landed on those Harold Jackson.
I'm always up for some roller derby, indeed. Hey, you can find me watching roller derby and all types of other stuff here on the. You can find me watching stuff on the Patreon, patreon.com/Black Wrestling. You pay the $1, pay the $10, get content like this. Mm-hmm. And if you're watching this on YouTube, if you go to the Patreon, you get it's a lot. Again, Bulls in the China Shop is worth the price of admission in and of itself. YouTube.com/Black Wrestling every Thursday night, 8:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Give you 5 mics, podcast and excellence. Shouts out to the squad. Drip.
You can follow me on Twitter at Davis, aka Drip. Instagram, Davis Colton DC. White Noise is every weekend on the Patreon. Past week's episode replays on YouTube. Make sure you catch us every Thursday night, 8:35 Eastern. 5 mics, Mimi, Matt, Fam, Cal, and myself. Talk about the week in wrestling and whatever else. Patreon also has, again, Bulls in the China Shop, Black Watch, Black Wrestling Reaction Club, all sorts of things. So we appreciate y'all tuning in. See y'all next time. Thank you, Vin, for stopping by.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah,
now the one podcast that needs to come back.
What's that? Limited. What do you mean?
We'll see.
I said Pretty Unlimited.
Yeah, we got to see what the missus is doing. We'll see what the missus is doing. It's on her. We'll figure it out.
Cal's like under the bus. Here you.
No, it's not. No, it's not even that. It's really.
I would do the show, but
No. It's really on whenever the boss is ready to do the show. If the boss isn't ready to show and get made,
that's fun.
Hey, it ain't on me. I do all the other stuff anyway. What's my man's name? Jay White. Take us out.